We had a question a few weeks ago about inverted fullbacks, about the history of Ange in inverted fullbacks.
Yeah.
How did he used to play? He used to play an attacking 4-3-3 with high and wide wingers and attacking fullbacks. And that's how West Ham attacked. And every time they lost the ball, there was an acre of space out wide, and we just absolutely killed them in transition. Their transition defense is the worst in the league, I think. So if you're curious about why inverted fullbacks are so popular, if you're dubious about the effectiveness of inverted fullbacks, this is why everyone, or nearly everyone, plays with inverted fullbacks right now. Because what is Wan-Bissaka offering you out on the high and wide on the touchline? And obviously Spurs take it to the extreme where sometimes when we're on the break and Udoki's on the opponent's bylines, that he's effectively doing the same thing. But at least we keep Porro relatively deep. This is why most teams play with an inverted fullback who stays in midfield, or possibly even two. Because, West Ham were just incredibly bad defending on the break.
And Brendan O'Connor said, why did the Sarr Maddison sub work as well as it did? What was the tactical problem? But it's solved. I've got some thoughts on this, but Nathan, do you want to dig into it?
No, I think you've contributed very helpfully to the discussion. So we pushed back on the idea that in the second half, the central midfielders were tracking wide runners into the channels and allow the centre backs to stay narrow. That's a good read. The structure didn't really change. I think the tactical context changed because, again, West Ham made the decision to come out in the second half and really get at us. I think our pressing dropped off again at the start of the second half. So I think West Ham have seen the Brighton game and gone, you can really get at this team at the start of the second half, so let's do that. And in doing so, left themselves hilariously open. The difference is taking it back to the first half. When we defended and when we pressed, we did so in a 4-3-1 right from the start.
Yeah.
It seemed like
Kulusevski is the deeper player, which is interesting.
Yes, exactly. It seemed like maybe Maddison right at kickoff, when everyone was taking the knee, he was not taking the knee because he was going around spreading a message. I don't know if that was a message he got from Ange or whether that's a call that Maddison made on the pitch himself. But he said, Kulu, you stay deep because Paqueta's pushing up on your side of the pitch and we'll do 4-2-3-1 and I'll be the number 10. So Kulusevski was asked to be a deep number 8 defensively in that first half. And for all the great stuff that Kulusevski did in this game, his defensive awareness, his physical game is just not going to be on the same level as Sarr in terms of tracking runners, picking up players on the edge of the box, scanning around and checking things like that. So just a change in who was playing that role, I think, was significant enough. Structurally, still some issues in the second half, I think.
That point about Kulusevski not picking up the runners, that is literally the case for the first 2 chances, the second of which was a goal. I would say this is my favourite type of tactical substitution because I thought Maddison played well, and yet we got better as a team after he came off. That is a bold move and one that I think he got absolutely spot on. Offensively, I think it worked because, as I said earlier, all of our joy comes from transition moments, from counter-attacks. All of our settled possession, of which Maddison obviously is a huge part as our key playmaker, was unsuccessful, broadly. We did score 1 goal from settled possession, but broadly speaking, West Ham defended our settled possession really effectively, packed the box, packed the midfield, restricted the space, kept us moving the ball across the pitch, side to side to side. In counter-attacks, we were threatening, we were direct, we were really aggressive, and it worked really well. They had overloads at the back post so that when Bowen beat Udogi twice, they have players there at the back post to get a shot away. Or if the same happens on the other side, they've got players on the opposite side. And Spurs, as we've seen before, have a weakness in being overloaded at the back post because especially on the right, our right-sided winger Johnson stays incredibly high for the counter-attack. So there's a problem on that side. And when you've got Kulusevski there, who's also wanting to stay high, that problem is double because you don't have Johnson there, you don't have Kulusevski there. So on the goal, for example, you see Johnson just coming back into shot and not quite getting close enough to Kudus. And Kulusevski's kind of standing around outside the edge of the box.
Quickly half, on Johnson there, sorry, I just want to jump in because it's both true that Ange is seemingly reluctant to bring his wingers back to defend because he wants them for the counter. And also Brennan Johnson specifically has a poor defensive awareness. So both facets of play there, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because Johnson, I think, is very good defensively in terms of his dueling is excellent. Sure. But yeah, he does switch. He does have moments where he switches off for sure.
Sorry, carry on with what you were saying before.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say was the change from a defensive standpoint meant you've got a double pivot now. Sarr is playing a much more withdrawn role than Maddison. Bissouma only has half the pitch to cover. Sarr has the other half. So instantly, less responsibility on Bissouma. Great. Means he can kind of eat up the ground in a smaller area. And it means you've got someone else alongside him for ball recoveries, which Sarr did to spring Son for his fantastic goal. And when the crosses are coming in, suddenly there's an extra body around the edge of the box to mark, to be in the way, to stop things happening. And I think that was the most important aspect. Also, Sarr's just incredible in transition, like literally just running back towards his own goal is a huge strength of his. And in my rewatch, I counted 2 or 3 times where he just dashes back into plays. A couple of times he gets a foot in, but more often than not, it's just a presence there.
Yeah.
And him being back behind the ball is really helpful. And obviously,
perfect pass to Son that he played, yeah.
Perfect pass. Also, the timing of the pass is magnificent. Just, yeah, really, really impressive stuff. The final thing I'll say about the sub is that I found it really interesting that it was Maddison and not Kulusevski that was taken off. I think that tells you a thing or two about how well Kulusevski is playing and how highly thought of his current form is, because it could have been either of them, in all honesty. I don't think it was specific that, it wasn't that Maddison was having a bad game. It was that the role had to change. And I think it was the right call to leave Kulusevski on in the form he's in.
Maddison picked up 0.5 expected assists in the first half, so on for an equally good performance.
Jack C says, could you please talk about our sort of low block defence and in particular our rest offence? That is wingers and 8 sitting fairly high, even well after the press is beaten. Porro got a lot of stick for the goal today, but the fullback coming in narrow is correct, no? Instead, Johnson is miles away, though I know Ange praised him post-game. Feels like opposition teams overload on the far post, opposite side of the box for a 3v2, and we concede from second balls in the area or switches, etc. Feels like a very specific defensive weakness being targeted. Why is it happening? I think that kind of nails what's happening, to be honest, and we have spoken about that a little already. Is there anything you'd want to add, Nathan?
A lot of it starts from centre-backs getting dragged out wide, which is what we talked about earlier. But yeah, this is the risk we take, right? We rest attack. We keep 3 players separate from our settled defence, and that's a risk that we take. And there is upside this game, and there is downside Brighton game, and it is what it is, and it's not likely to change much. Yeah. I don't know. You're entitled to feel either way about it, I guess.
Yeah, fair. And the thing is,
we can do better with the players that we do keep back. Like sometimes we're double marking empty spaces.
Yes, I think that's fair. And I think it asks a lot of the players to always be extremely switched on.
Yes.
As we saw in the last game with Romero ball watching, he wasn't, and suddenly you're conceding a goal as a result of that. Like, it makes it basically means if you make a mistake, you might concede.
And we probably don't spend a lot of time focusing on our settled defensive structure, because that's just not what Ange is interested in.
Yeah, it's all about in possession and how quickly you can open the team up.
So you've got a double risk there, right? I'm only going to defend with 7 players, and we're not going to spend a lot of time practicing how to defend with 7 players. We're going to concede goals, like in the Brighton game, from those situations sometimes, and it's going to sting. And we might lose games because of it here and there, but we might also win games because of it as well.
Yeah. It's risk reward again.